The Islamic connection to slavery, as we've just been hearing amazingly from our special guest, IQ al Rassooli, that has been a precept of Islam, and as he said, against any non-Muslim, is well established. He talked about that. The Islamic teaching about the command of Muhammad in the Quran to subjugate all non-Muslims, to tax them to death, literally, or to kill Jews and Christians, is what jihad's all about. This is what the repeated threats from Iran to destroy Israel and the United States is all about. It's what the recent declaration by Turkey's President Erdogan that we've just covered on this program to begin the killing of all non-Muslims so he can reinstate the former Ottoman Empire. That's what that's all about. But slavery and death, can I submit, go together? One's just a slower form of death, but that's all part of the teachings of Islam. The same devaluing of life is shared by Marxists and communists and globalist ideology, as evidenced by their history and by their writing. So how has this mentality been advanced in the United States? IQ, again, in the recent article you wrote, you said this. You called it Black American and Payback Time. You said this, quote, "The American people today are divided politically almost equally, 47% each, between Democrats and Republicans, 6% undecided." You go on by saying both political parties have been disastrous to Black Americans. Republicans guilty by omission, Democrats guilty by commission. Great statements, catchy. Would you expand upon what you mean by Republicans guilty by omission and Democrats guilty by commission?
Yes. The Democrats enslaved the black people first in the beginning, physically. But then, after the Civil War, they started enslaving them psychologically, financially, educationally, and spiritually. The Republicans, on the other hand, who should have had all the support from every single black person, started ignoring them. That's the omission. The other one is the commission. The only person who's actually stood up for American blacks is Donald Trump, the only president. In 2016, he asked the simple question: what have you got to lose? Vote for me. And those who voted for him cannot possibly regret it. Because until coronavirus, their figures speak for themselves. The lowest number of black Americans on welfare. The lowest number unemployed of black Americans. Not only black Americans, by the way. Hispanic Americans and Asian Americans. They all benefited from what Donald Trump has been doing. All of them. Every person in the United States of America has been literally advantaged by what Donald Trump has done. He cut all the cords that held America down. He went against China. He went against the Europeans and the Americans who were literally draining the blood of the American taxpayer. He said, listen, we're protecting you, but you're not contributing. Good God, it's so simple. People don't seem to understand the simplicity of this man. He is not a politician. He is a businessman. As far as he is concerned, he is the CEO of a company called United States of America. And the American people are the shareholders. It's not complicated. But the left, the Democrats, and the Muslims blame him for everything going wrong in America. He's not a politician. The Democrats have been running these cities for the last 60 to 70 years. Each and every one of the Democrat cities is in disaster. Not only economic disaster, social disaster. Look at them. They want to defund the police. They had Antifa burning businesses down. By the way, they didn't burn the businesses of white Americans. They burned the businesses of black Americans, Asian Americans, and Latino Americans. The very people that they claim they're supporting.
Yeah. IQ, I want to get back to... Let me get back to your article here, if you don't mind. In your article, you say that, and I quote, blacks must always remember that the Democrats were and continue to be the party of slavery, that the Republicans were against slavery. Then you go on to say, and I quote, and this is very key, America needs to hear this. You say, and I quote, Biden and the Democrats unashamedly and without an iota of conscience are asking Muslims to vote for them, end quote. I actually heard Joe Biden speak concerning that, IQ. Anyway, make a tie, if you would, please, between why the Democrats feel an affinity toward Islam and the Muslims an affinity toward the Democratic Party. What's the connection there?
Very simple. The Muslims do not tolerate anybody making any statement, factual statement about Islam. They are intolerant of debate. The Democrats are exactly the same. In 60 years, in the last 4 or 5 years under Trump, not his fault, academia has collapsed in the United States of America. Conservatives are hunted down as if they were Nazis, while the ones who are doing it are the Nazis. What is Antifa? Nazi, fascist. What is Black Lives Matter? Nazi, fascist, Islamic. This is where they are together. Who is Ilhan Omar? A piece of garbage, absolutely piece of garbage. She wears the hijab, and she has been fornicating. Under Islam, if she was back in Somalia, they would have stoned her to death. But the Democrat Party is protecting her. The justice system, you don't have a justice system in the United States of America. It's a one-sided one. Ilhan Omar should have been literally put in prison, if not exiled, back to Somalia, for what she has been doing financially as well as otherwise. She married her own brother. All the documents say she married her own brother, and yet nobody is doing anything. She speaks against white Americans. Nothing happens. She speaks against America. Nothing happens. Why? Where is your justice system? Why is it when a conservative says something truthful about Muhammad? Who was Muhammad? Muhammad was a pathological liar. He was a mass murderer, a psychopath. Who said that? Read the Quran. Read only chapters 2 to chapter 9. 8 chapters. You don't need to read 114 chapters. Read chapters 2 to chapter 9. You don't buy the Quran. You go on Google Quran, spend an hour, 2 hours, read chapters 2 to 9. And if you can come to any conclusion opposite to mine, you should be put in a mental asylum.